Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Facebook Live today as part of our series that we've been doing lately of lots of different Facebook Lives with various experts and people from around the industry. And today we have another special guest with us. We have Thomas McEntee, the author and renowned genealogist. So we're really, really glad to have him with us, and he'll be talking about using city directories, top 10 tips and tricks. And just so that you know, we'll be posting a comment which has a PDF with all of the resources that you can rely on for tonight's session. And so please take a look there. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Thomas. Hi there, how are you today?
Good, how are you doing?
Good, it's great to see you. Welcome.
Same here. Yeah, I'm really excited about this. I really am. So I know that we put this together rather at the last minute, but I was so jazzed all weekend about this.
Fantastic, fantastic. So if you could just introduce yourself, that would be great.
Yeah, a lot of MyHeritage people know me probably from the Legacy Family Tree webinars that I've been doing since the start of time, it seems, working with Jeff Rasmussen in that group. Also, you probably have seen me maybe in person, even in Tel Aviv. I was there with MyHeritage in May of 2019. So I've been doing genealogy for 42 years now. I started when I was 14 years old as a teenager when the miniseries Roots came on television in 1977. And I've been running my own genealogy business for the past 12 years, roughly. So I just want to welcome everyone and just share my knowledge of city directories, which I use so much in my own genealogy and for my clients.
Fantastic. And if I will put up your slides now, and you could get to the city directories.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. And I'm going to switch over the slides. And Esther, just let me know if you're not seeing anything. And so I appreciate that. So we're here for using city directories, my top 10 tips and tricks. Now, I'm not going to go really in depth into the background on city directories, and we're talking mostly US city directories. They do exist internationally as well, but that is in the handout, and Esther is going to post the link to that. But you have to keep in mind, prior to the telephone book, most towns and cities had these small directories. Do not discount the fact that your ancestor's hometown was 500 people and there's no way they would have a directory. The fact is they probably did, or they were part of a larger countywide directory. So these are really helpful. The number one reason I think they're helpful is it pinpoints someone down to a roughly 1 year period, often in between the US Census periods or even the state census periods. So let's dive right into the tips and tricks. And then I'm going to take your questions about the city directories. I'm also going to reveal my secret as to why city directories are important and how they're going to help you with the upcoming 1950 census data release in 2022. So my first tip is this. When you're searching, and if you're searching in the MyHeritage US City Directories collection, which has a lot of records, I always start my search by last name only. That's usually what I do. And I just want to make sure that we're okay. Great. Yeah. And so in terms of that, don't do a first name, last name search. Search with the surname first. There are various problems with first names on directories. We'll go over abbreviations in a minute. Now, you know, my first name is Thomas. Guess how it sometimes shows up in a directory? THOS. Now, if I search with Thomas and I was going too exact and narrowed down. So again, you're going to go broad first and then narrow down. My next tip is also make sure that even once you find your ancestor, go through images of that surname. Just go through them and look for people that might have the same surname, especially if it's an unusual surname. That's a great way to find people that may not even be on your tree yet and are somehow related to that ancestor. Another tip, what is the date of the directory? Very important. When you do your search, you may land on a specific page with your ancestors listing. Always flip to the beginning of the images. You may have to go through a few pages of advertisement, because keep in mind, this was a moneymaker for the publisher. And then you get to the page with publication information. It'll tell you who the publisher is and what year. And you always have to backdate it a year. Okay, so check the front pages and the back pages. Also realize this information is different than a census. There wasn't an enumerator per se who put their name to what they were listing and signed off on it. So not much is known about how business directories were put together, or city directories. So it's always safe to assume that a 1908 directory basically is 1907 information. Here's another one. Do not ignore the table of contents. Now, I don't go to the TOC first, but usually once I find my ancestor, because that table of contents will have street names, street name changes, lists of churches, fraternal organizations, charities, and more. It also lays out any terminology that directory uses. You have to understand there were various publishers. R.R. Polk was the most famous. I think it was R.R. Polk. And or is that R.R. Donnelly? But one of them was very famous and did most of them in the U.S. Make sure you also, once you've got an ancestor and a specific address, try to search by address. Now, that can be difficult with some databases. I believe I've been able to do it with MyHeritage, but I always do it because that way I can see who lived in that house before or after. Address changes. This is really important when you're dealing with some early directories. Keep in mind that many cities, like Chicago, we reconfigured our address schema in our street grid in 1909. So if you're working with a 1900 Chicago directory and use that address to see a Google map for your ancestor, probably it's not going to work. All right, so you may have to research the history of that city or that town. And if you're having trouble finding that address on a current Google search, it's most likely there have been some changes. Abbreviations. I will show you one of my best resources for looking up abbreviations, but these are really where the clues lie. So if you saw an entry there with W or WD, that person was a widow. You might see BD. That means that that person is boarding at that address. They do not own that address. You might see R for rents. So you're always, again, going to check the front or the back, and they will list the abbreviations in use for that specific directory. Also, if you swear that you cannot find a directory for your small town or it doesn't exist, I challenge you to go and look on the county level or the nearest large city. Very often for suburbs, I live in a part of Chicago which is very north, and it was not originally part of Chicago. It was Lakeview, Illinois, and then later incorporated. So you need to, know. So we probably would have been included in Chicago because we were so close. Once I've got an address too, one of those fun things to do is to go and put it into Google Maps. Go to Street View and see if the building still exists. I've been amazed at what I've been able to find for my own ancestors with that information. The other thing is too, use the address to look for current real estate listings. If you do that, you might be able to get some interior shots of the ancestral home. And finally, create timelines. This is perfect for you to do, is to track your ancestor over time with all of this information. So you could see where they moved to and from. Remember that sometimes occupations are listed in these listings of city and business directories. So maybe they changed jobs over time. You could see that they got married, etc. So it's really, really important. So now let me do a few things here, and then we're going to go ahead, and I want to talk to you a bit more about the U.S. City Directories collection. This is phenomenal. It's 445 million records, almost 25,000 city directories. Okay, so, and as the database says, it's an alphabetical list of adult residents and heads of household, lists spouse, addresses, occupations, all this info. Sometimes I've even seen where the spouse would pass away and it would say, husband John died last year. I mean, it really depends on the directory. Usually those are smaller, small town directories. Now, the collection covers from 1860 to 1960. This is important, folks. For the 1950 census, when those images come out on April 1st, 2022, you're going to have to know the address of where your ancestor lived in 1950. So this could possibly help. Also, the total records are 1.3 billion individual records. So please go ahead and check that out when you have a chance over there. And also, I was allowed to give a little bit of a plug here. If you really want more free handouts, cheat sheets, all of that type of stuff, I run a site called Abundant Genealogy. You're free to check it out. I'd appreciate it if you did and just download some of the info. This is only a short list of what I have. I have a packing list, not that anyone's traveling right now, but a packing list for doing a research trip this summer or in the fall. How to create a family story using a form on Microsoft Word. All of this. This is only probably about a third of the list here. And also a little bit more about me. This is what I do for a living, teach online, and also work with the genealogy community to make sure we're getting the most out of our resources. So now I think I'm going to go ahead and bring Esther back in and see if we've got any questions. There you are.
Hi there.
Hey.
We do have a few questions, and before we get to them, I just want to let everyone know that first of all, they can search in the City Directories collection on MyHeritage, and that's under www.myheritage.com/research, and we'll put that link also in the comments for everyone. So it's one of our very exciting collections that we do have in MyHeritage Super Search that has been released in the past few months, and it's really an exciting collection. And like you said, a lot of users are really finding it very useful, especially in cases where they can't find a census record for a specific individual, or there isn't one that they're able to locate. So we hope that everyone checks out that collection there, and I'll get to the questions.
Okay.
We have one from Bobby. Will you mention the best way to make the timeline?
I can do that. And in fact, if you want, Esther, I can actually show it on my screen. I'm going to get out of here. And one of the sites that I really like, it's called Time Toast. Now, you could also keep in mind, Legacy Family Tree has a great timeline feature in the software, and I believe that MyHeritage does as well. So I always go first to my native program. But if you want a standalone program, this is something called Time Toast, and I use it all the time. It's free. And let me see if I can sign in. And this is the challenge for Thomas. Yay, they remember me. And see what I've done is I've created timelines for my families. And they're here. And, you can display documents. You can view it as a timeline. I put in directories, etc. There are a lot of ads, unfortunately. They've taken that route, but it's called Time Toast, timetoast.com. So that's a great question. So what else?
Okay, we have a question from Cindy. What if they have a military address? My dad was in the service in 1950.
Yeah, I did see that question, a great question. Well, the thing is, it could be that he's still listed in a directory, and it may say that he's serving. My father-in-law served in the Korean conflict in the 50s, but he would have been listed under his parents. So that's another thing to check. Check for the parents, and sometimes they will list children. It all depends on the locale. It depends on the publisher. There was not a uniform set of even abbreviations across different publishers. Great question.
Carol asks, I cannot find a lot of directories for my town or even the state archives. Where else can I look?
Okay. Now, of course, I would love you to stay with the MyHeritage site, but I do want you to know that there is a site called Online Historical Directories. And this is an amazing site. I don't know, Esther, if you can put that link up there. I will put it in the Be Live host chat so that you have it. Someone said that links were getting blocked, so I'm not sure. But let me come back here. This is a site. It's a free site. But what they do is they list not only free online historical directories, but also those that are, that you have to pay a fee for. So if I was going to California, then I could go down to the directory level, the county level, and see all of these, whether they're free or not. Okay, but those are available as well. So it's called Online Historical Directories. It's a great resource. And so, yeah, there's that.
Terry asks, I've had a hard time searching and browsing data sets in general. Can Thomas go through any simple basics of searching? I guess through MyHeritage, through Super Search. What are your basic tips for searching in general?
Yeah, I can do that. So usually, when I'm working with MyHeritage, and let me see if I can I'm trying to put a few pages together here. Let's see, I'll go with this one. There we go. If I'm right here, what I'm going to do first, I search broad rather than narrow. So I'm going to do something like my last name, and I might just do, maybe a certain year or a certain place, like New York. I'm going to go very broad. And you notice down here, I'm not going to click exact search. All right. Then I'm going to go ahead and search and see what I find. Now, that's 103,000 results. So, of course, I want to then go ahead and edit that search and refine it down. And maybe what I want is something from 1930. Maybe I want something that is an exact search. I love the with translations feature, by the way, guys. But see, now I'm down to 74 results. Okay, that's a big difference. Now, I know this ancestor because she's my great aunt. That's amazing. Actually, my great great aunt. So I hadn't seen this one before, and so that's what I tend to do. Also, keep this in mind. Use your wildcard characters. Let me show you this. So here I am. What if I didn't know if it was MC or MAC? I can go ahead and put that asterisk. You may not be able to see that. Let me enlarge this for you. There we go. So I could do it like that and then do the search. And then what am I going to see? Let me drop this down a little bit. So again, I'm going to get 196. You notice I got more than my 103. So I go to my edit search, and then again, maybe I put in, well, that's not going to work with a wildcard. So I'd have to narrow it down to maybe 1942 or 1940. And then I should be able to come up with, yeah, it still didn't narrow it down. It's because of the wildcard. With wildcards, you're going to get a lot of features. But again, it's all trial and error. Go back and edit that one all the time. Edit that search each time you go back to it. That's a good question.
We have a few comments also. Jason says, I was able to find my grandparents in the 1940 census by using the local city directory when a general search of the census didn't work.
Exactly. Yeah, these addresses are so valuable. I know that sometimes censuses get misindexed. So if you know the address, you can browse image by image.
And we have a question from Terry. Can you search in fields and add other filters like spouse name or lives in this place, etc.?
Let me go back and let's go ahead and check. It all depends on the platform. So I'm going to go ahead and start a new search. So let's say that I wanted McKenty here and I knew what it was. The thing is, the search form for this, I would use the keywords. It doesn't give me, so then I would go to advanced search. And notice right here, then I can put in the spouse. So maybe the spouse, I don't know if it was, let's say that it was Isabel. Today. There we go. And you can put in marriage year. Wow, they even have all of that flexibility. And here, so I've got that narrowed down, but of course I'm not being very exact. And that does, here's an Isabel, here's an Isabel, here's an Isabel. Wow, she's all over the place here. And then of course I pull in these other ones. So again, use the advanced search. You know, it's not very easy to find. It usually sits right here, but that's what I would do if you want to add those other filters. Yeah.
We have a comment from Dina. She says, we used city directories in Chicago at the collection agency I worked at. It was a great resource.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. The other thing I want to point out, Esther, I'm going to show on my screen, there's a great article in Genealogy and Time magazine. This link is in the resource, but I'm going to post it for Esther in the chat here and see if she can post it. But let me go over here. There it is. This is a comprehensive listing of all the abbreviations that many different city directories use. So you see it could be BDG or BDS instead of B, corner, chambers, creek, department, all of these. Yes, and there was segregation on many of the southern directories. People that were non-white or that were colored would be listed with an asterisk. So that was very, very common for African Americans in the South up until, I mean, some directories are not being published much anymore, but that's not done anymore. But I have encountered many, many directories where that was done.
Pam asks, can you search by only town and state to see what years there are directories?
Yeah, to see what years there are. Now, are you talking now it's one big database per se at MyHeritage. So if I wanted to, I could go here. I would still need some of this, but let's see if I can do it like this. I can do 1930, and let's say that I want Brooklyn, New York. Also, I can have a lot of flexibility here, match flexibility required, etc. I'm going to take this out. And let's see if we can do a general search here. Yeah, well, I'm going to get 28 million results. So in a way, the MyHeritage collection is a database. Also at the other side I showed you, the online historical directories, you have to go down to the county level, and then you have to work with the table that's listed there. So it depends on the platform that you're using.
And just before we finish off, I just wanted to know if you could share with us any personal stories, any records or surprising facts that you yourself have found, whether it be in city directories or other MyHeritage collections. We'd love to hear about it.
Mostly for clients, and like I said, I would, you know, I love the small town ones because the person that did the collection of information would put his or her own notes, thinking that it was helpful. The other one that you will often see is removed to and a place name. When you see that, that means that that person moved to that town. So it might be a 1908 directory, but at least they're still listing that person even though they're not there. So sometimes I've also seen directories where they've been listed where the person moved from. So yeah, it really depends. But I've seen a lot of stuff. Not too many weird occupations, but you know, lives over a building or lives over a shop. I've seen all these little things. So there are really a lot of gems, Esther, that are in there that are really going to help you advance your research.
Great, thank you. Do you want to just share a bunch of links? Just tell us about tell us about the different things that you shared throughout your talk, just to remind everyone, the timeline feature.
Right. So don't forget, we've got timetoast.com is for building your timelines. I always prefer to go within a software program first or a platform, because that way it's all in one place. Very often you can just take your tree and look at a person on a timeline. Also, remember, with Genealogy and Time Magazine has the abbreviations available, and then the online historical directories site. And all of those resources, or most of them, are in the handout there at the end. And the handout has a lot more information. Actually, you've seen it, Esther. It gives you an image of a directory, I think it was 1870, and it shows you how to read the entry and read all the abbreviations. So,
yeah, that handout is fantastic. And for everyone who hasn't taken a look yet, it's in the comments there. Please take it, use it as a resource, print it out, and use it as you're searching through the City Directories collection at myheritage.com/research. And we hope that you enjoy the City Directories. Thomas, thank you so much for being with us today.
Appreciate it. Yes.
We really had a great time, and we hope to do many more of these lives. So if any of you have suggestions for other topics, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to host more of them. We hope that you're all staying home, staying safe, and we'll see you all next time.
Great. Thank you.
Bye.